this is a kind of if statement you see quite often, and it's something that there's a better alternative for, and it's one where there's an awful lot of possible cases. So you can see we've got if, else if, else if, else if, all the way down the page, all the way to a final else at the end here. This particular example is essentially setting a string variable called line color to some particular color value, some string representing a color, based upon another string variable, and that represents the names of train lines in the London Tube system. So for example, the central line is orange, okay, and we've actually set it here as central just as a test. So it does all these if else, if else, if else's down here, and all of the cases are checking to see if the value is equal to something. Now this is okay, but generally speaking we would prefer a different style, and it looks like this. Scroll to the top. This is what's called a switch statement, okay, and it's specifically designed for the situation where you've got a particular value that can have a number of possible a particular variable that can have a number of possible values, and you want different actions in each case. So you start it with the keyword switch, and then after that you put in brackets simply the value you want to switch on. In this case it's just simply the name of a variable. Now notice that we don't have any option to do less than, greater than, not equals. All we're doing is this value here equal to something? And if so, go and do a particular thing. Now we start with our curly bracket here, and we end down here. And between that we've got a sequence of lines that look like this. Okay, so the first is a keyword case, and then after that is the value that this thing could be. In this case it's a string, but we can also do this with numbers. We could have integers here instead. Then there's a colon, and then there's one or more lines of actual code. In this case there's only one line, but we can have as many as we want in here within reason. And that ends with the keyword break with a semicolon. So basically what we're saying is that if line name is equal to Bakerloo, then we set line color to brown, and then this break statement says jump out of this, go to the end of this, and then do whatever comes after this, which is this code here. Now as you can see we've got a whole load of these case statements here, and they represent all the possible colors of the line, and this is what you would normally want to do stylistically if you have an if statement which has got lots of, well, it could be equal to this, or it could be equal to that, or it could be equal to something else. If you've got a long list of things, then use this. Now there's no fixed set of rules to say, well, if you've got more than a certain number you do it like this, if you haven't you do it using if else. It's really up to you to make a decision based upon what you think is an appropriate style in each particular situation. One thing, however, to be very careful about is this break statement here. Now, basically the way it works is that we check to see whether this, in this case, this variable here is equal to each of these particular cases. In this particular case, we've set it equal to central, so it'll go to this one here. It'll do this line here, and then this break line means essentially finish the case statement. And you might think, well, what's the point of putting this break statement in? Surely the fact that we've got another case immediately following it means that clearly we should we could avoid this. We could just leave it out, and it'll know at this point that, well, it's another case here, so we can do something different. Unfortunately, for historical reasons that aren't really very good, it doesn't work like that. What would happen is that if we didn't put this break statement in here, it would go on and do this line here. So if I took out this break, or just simply commented it out, then the behavior of this program will change and we'll end up with the wrong answer. So I can actually run this and compile it. Let's just save this one, and let's compile it now. So we can JAVAC. So currently it's printing central. Now if I comment out this break statement here and save it and recompile it and run it again, you can see now it says that the color of central is yellow, whereas previously it was orange. Orange is correct, should be orange, but it's saying yellow, and the reason it's saying yellow is we haven't put this break statement in. Now there are historical reasons for this. As I said, people used to do quite clever things with break statements. Now we tend to think they were a bit unhelpfully clever and hard to understand, and we prefer that people do not do them. And so you should take the view that whenever you use the case statement, you always start it with case, and you make sure you put the break in at the end, even to the point of putting it after the last one here. Okay, because suppose that the value of line color was Victoria, we'd execute this line of code here. Now this is the last line in the actual case statement, and so arguably we don't need this break here because we've at the end anyway. But if we take it out here, yes, it'll continue to work, but suppose we suddenly think, oh, hang on, we need to put some more lines in here. Suppose we start doing, for example, the Docklands Light Railway, which has got some different colors, and so we don't have the break, and we start putting other case statements in. The fact that we've left this out and perhaps forget to put it in when we go back to it means that now our code will be wrong. So it's good practice to always put the breaks in, even at the very end of a case statement.